Welcome to Browns Out of Town. This is the Week 8 review, Week 9 preview featuring Chris Clem, who's not here yet, but we'll put him in the title and make him feel shame for showing up late if he never shows up at all. But whatever, I'll still tag him in it. I'm Ray Roberts. That's Jimmy Crawford. What's new, Jimmy?
Well, not much. I'm trying to do some prep work for this recap of Week 8, and it feels like it was so long ago after last night. So,
What happened last night?
well, we are recording this on Wednesday. So last night was the election, and it was just long night, long day. I can't remember anything about the game that happened on Sunday. My memory is just gone. So this will be.
It does seem like a completely different world. It almost
feels
like
so long ago now. Yeah.
When you're younger and you swim to the bottom of a pool that's only 10 or 12 feet or something, but you get down there and your lung capacity isn't that good, and you start panicking once you touch the bottom, and then it you're not in any real danger, but you have that weird I'm gonna die thing, and then as soon as you get up there, you breathe and you're this is the best moment of my life. It almost feels like we're very close to that happening, where we've been holding our breath for 4 years, and then all of a sudden it'll just be okay, the adults are back. We're gonna be okay. We have nice people stealing our freedom instead of somebody who's mean.
Right. I'm going to exaggerate a little bit here, but I feel like I'm only I'm so tired. The only person I can imagine that would be more tired than I am is George Stephanopoulos. That's it. He's the hardest working man in media, but
my mom has the biggest crush on George Stephanopoulos. I grew up with George Stephanopoulos. As a child, I was my mom's that's George Stephanopoulos, and I love him. And I was why do I need to know who the chief of staff for the Clintons are when I'm a child? And then of course he becomes
she's an early adopter. Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? That and Matt Lauer. What a great pick on my mom's choice for that one.
We're old people now, so we watch Good Morning America, and I was watching ABC News last night, and I was this guy, he better not be on Good Morning America tomorrow morning, and he was on.
Damn.
Was asleep, I'm sure, and then he was on all day too, because I just have ABC News on in the background while I'm working.
Welcome to the George Stephanopoulos podcast. I'm Ray Roberts. That's Jimmy Crawford.
One more interesting fact about George Stephanopoulos, because the day
Go ahead with your interesting fact.
He had dinner at Jeffrey Epstein's house one time in Palm Beach.
Well, of course he did. He was Clinton's chief of staff.
But this was in 2000. This was in 2010 though.
Yikes! That's not a good look.
All right, now on to the Browns.
The real point of this podcast is talking about everything Browns, just not in their town. I want to stay in touch with the Browns, even though we're not in the Cleveland area anymore. Social media is at Browns Out of Town. It's good. We've been live tweeting at the same time for the games and not communicating at all. And then I was oh, this seems pretty familiar. And then we're those, but yeah, it happens. It is what it is. Then so that's fun. Rate, review, subscribe, reach out on the socials. Support us if you want. Hit the support tab. Oh, I know why this looks like shit this week. I didn't hook up my normal camera. I didn't hook up the new camera. That's why it looks like ass.
Yeah, there you go. That makes sense.
See, I just figured it out. Sorry, it's all scattered. It's been a rough week.
Yep.
I might swear every once in a while, so get used to it. Election update. As of right now, according to the AP, because that's what Google does and Google runs the world, Joe Biden 264, Donald J. Trump 214. So there's that. That's the Electoral College. Trump is down by 3.4 million votes in the popular vote, and this is still a nail biter. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's crazy. I go back and forth on. Well, we don't need to talk about this. This is not a politics podcast.
It doesn't matter. It's one of those who cares? You have to address it, but
we don't need to get into the Electoral College. We can just skip that process. Yeah, who cares?
It's a great idea. It was a great idea 200 years ago, and it's got its place. But when somebody's over 50% and somebody's not over 50%, then that's problem solved. We figured it out. Whatever. Fine. Election update. That's what's going on. The next most exciting thing in my life is that Chappelle Show is on Netflix now. How many episodes have you watched so far?
I haven't watched any. I didn't know it was on. I thought I saw this on the agenda, and I was hoping you were going to tell me that it was like a new season of Chappelle Show on Netflix, because
They wouldn't let them do that.
That would be the perfect platform for that show, though.
Yeah, it's a very perfect, because you almost like forget how often he like would throw to commercial. So
Yeah.
like on Netflix, it's like 2 minute sketch, we're going to commercial. 3.5 minute sketch, we're going to, and it's like a half hour show. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of how they work. But
Right.
like
That's the format.
yeah, it's very like chopped. But it's like the uncensored. So you're like, oh, I remember watching this on television as a
That's kind of
13-year-old.
interesting. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like you just forget how hard the first episode goes, like right off the rip. Like, and I was crying, like the Mitsubishi commercial where like the girls all dancing in the car, and it's like that first sketch. That's what they lead off with, and I was like, this is fucking hilarious.
I'll have to jump in. Maybe I'll jump in tonight, a couple episodes before I go to bed.
Yeah, I did a couple, and it's like that perfect, like, all right, like it's a good nostalgia play. It's almost like when I rewatched the first Borat a couple weeks ago. Like, it was like, oh, like this is way funnier on a different level now that I'm 30 than when I was like 16.
Yeah. Your general grasp of the world and those jokes are a little bit more in line at 30.
And then like that's why it was so disappointing for Borat too.
Yeah, I rewatched it right before Borat too, and I was like, oh, I totally get this movie now. Because I didn't like I snuck into a theater to watch that movie. My high school girlfriend and I. We were the only two that bought it that night because it was like a Wednesday or something, and we had to sneak in, so we bought tickets to see Happy Feet, and then went and we snuck into Borat. We were the only two that were in the theater. Nobody else bought tickets because we were the only two in there, so they didn't show the movie. So we got like 5 minutes into it and they just shut it off.
Oh, I went and saw they re-released I don't know if I talked about it. They re-released V for Vendetta.
Yeah, you were talking about that last week.
Yeah, so I went to it. I ended up not being the only person in there. It was 4 people total. And it was like really weird being in a movie theater in a mall, and then like the mall closed at like 9. So after the movie was done, it's already COVID, so it's kind of creepy since everybody's in a mask. The mall's already closed. It's like 9:30, 10 o'clock by the time the movie's done. Like, you're leaving an empty movie theater to go into an empty mall where there were like riots a few weeks ago because they killed somebody. Like, they killed a black kid there in like February, so there were riots like a few weeks ago. And like, you're just like, it was just the most creepy thing in the entire world, because like I was walking around there for a couple hours, got a new pair of shoes, got dinner, and then like it was dead empty, and you're like, oh shit, like this is really weird and spooky. But like you almost forget like sneaking into movies was a thing. I could have went to any of the movies.
I know. Yeah, it's crazy, and I'll never do it again. But better experience at that mall or Franklin Park Mall movie theater?
I've never seen a movie at the Franklin Park Mall Theater. Okay. I don't think so.
Oh, that makes sense. You had Fallen Timbers and whatever the one in Perrysburg is called.
Well, that was when those came like when I was older. There was one down in Bowling Green in a mall there, a little shitty one that was cheaper. And then there was one, I think, next to like the Woodland Mall in Maumee. I don't even think the Woodland Mall's there anymore.
No, it's a parking lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it was close to over there, like where, like in that area where like Myers and all that stuff is.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like it was like the first movie theater in Ohio to serve alcohol. I remember that for some reason.
Ah, nice.
That's where I saw Titanic. That was super cool. Like they started, like that was like the first time like the screen like started this big, and then it like expanded.
Oh, the expansion. Yeah, we should do that for this podcast. Yeah.
We should probably talk about football on this podcast. Just like start right here.
Yeah.
Like both of us be like,
all right, guys, it's
like
time
you
to
didn't
start
even
the
see that coming. Fine.
That
NFL news. DK Metcalf still an
We'll
animal.
really stall until Chris gets here, you know.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, like if he shows up, he shows up. If not, like we were supposed to record yesterday, and then like I wasn't feeling it, and then Jimmy wasn't feeling it, and so like we moved our guest, even though he's like a guest, but whatever. We'll talk about him. I have nothing mean to say about him. He is the level of famous in Stowe that I want to be. He was in the Stowe Century once, or Century, sorry, not Century. So he was in that. He was up on the wall at the Funny Stop Comedy Club. I played basketball with him once. We're really close friends. But DK Metcalf, really good at football, like obscenely good at football. Did you watch that game at all?
Yeah, I didn't watch it. I had him on my fantasy team. He had like 40-some points, I think. It was crazy.
Oh, we got a message. All right, he should be popping in. And then Steelers, best team of all time?
No, they're good. They're not the best team of all time, though.
Are they going undefeated?
No.
Who are they going to lose to?
Probably Baltimore. Let's look at the rest of their schedule.
Because that game was close. I mean, I just think that defense. I mean, we're not touching that defense. I thought we would win a game against them this year. I don't think that's happening.
They play Baltimore. They play Baltimore on Thanksgiving. It's a late game at home. I could see them losing that. That's pretty much the only one, really. Yeah, I mean, they play the Bills, the Colts. They have a pretty easy schedule, actually. So they might go undefeated. I don't know. I hope not.
Sorry. Chris said that the things. I mean, we can cut it out if we need to. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean, I just don't know. Like, it's one of those things where like I can't count them out of winning any game. I know we're not going to beat them. It makes me bummed out for like the rest of like the years that we're in the AFC North. Is like Baltimore's not getting any worse. And then like the Steelers until Big Ben loses, they're not getting in. Or hey, there we go. Like the Steelers aren't gonna be any worse until Big Ben retires. And welcome to the most handsome man. We were just talking about you, Chris Clem, about some of your credits and how I want to be as famous as you from Stowe. Like I'm second most famous person from Stowe, working to number one.
Well, you have a very small hill to climb, so good luck.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Clem joining us. He big timed us by getting coffee, and then decided to join, but that's okay.
It was free.
From a Dunkin' Donuts? It took you time to go to a Dunkin' Donuts, and that's what you were late for?
I left at 5:10. It normally only takes 3 minutes to go there and back, but there's a bunch of people getting free stuff, so it took much longer than I expected.
It's rough.
That's all right. I don't think you've met Jimmy. Jimmy, that's Chris Clem.
What's up, Chris?
Hey.
Famous comedian from Stowe, Ohio. On the Funny Stop wall momentarily. He's probably in that back corner with the rest of them who died now.
I thought I got took down.
I don't know. I haven't been there in 6 months or 3 months, however long I've been gone. It feels a million years.
I'm pretty sure I got taken down. At least the drawing got taken down.
That was up by the front door. Last time I was there.
Well, let me see if I can pull this picture up. He was quite upset, I guess, so whatever.
It happens. He'll be more upset when we have the new president. We were just wrapping up last weekend in the NFL. Any big stories that you saw? We'll get to the Browns here in a minute, but anything other than anything big in the league?
I don't want to blow my cover, but I watch one NFL game a week.
Is it the Browns?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. That's usually what it is, but you might as well keep it. All right, so we'll just keep wrapping. Steelers are done. I mean, that opens it. Since the Ravens lost, I think we have a shot at getting to second in the AFC North if they lose another game and then like we keep on track. So that's encouraging. Like we might not have to squeak into like the brand new wild card seat.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be tough. It just sucks that the Browns are semi-decent and this division is a nightmare, above us.
It's going to be real tough.
Yeah.
I want to hit the 49ers. Like everybody on their team's broken again. What is that? Oh, are those like flowers on top of it?
It was just in some back corner, I guess.
Oh, weird.
And the
R.I.P.
frame's broken, so it's clearly down.
Oh, maybe it fell. Don't be so dramatic. Everybody
I
in
put that
Akron,
together myself and everything.
everybody's so dramatic all the time. 49ers broken again. Everybody's hurt. Jimmy G is on the IR the rest of the season. Everybody's got COVID on their team. The Packers running backs have it. Like, it's just a nightmare over there.
Kittle's out. Yeah, Kittle's out probably the rest of the season. He might come back for the playoffs if they make it, but it's doubtful that they make
And
it.
then, yeah, the last one on the list before we hit the Browns and then our fun little game that I decided to play with Chris is the Dallas quarterback. Are we trying out to be the Dallas quarterback? And which one of us is going to make it?
I'm going to go with Chris. I think Chris has got it. Yeah.
He has been working out. He does have quarterback hair now. And
I'm
that's
not much
pretty
of
impressive.
a football player.
We were talking about our basketball game where you almost killed. Well, I haven't said it yet, but where you almost killed fucking Jay.
I did.
Hey man, if you wouldn't have had a basketball game, so our buddy, I know like his real name now, so like I forget his fake name, like I forget his stage name because I had to learn his real name because he went to the hospital
Jay
with heart
Hunter.
palpitation. Jay Hunter, not his real name. So like I go to the hospital and I was like, "Yo, I'm here to see Jay Hunter," and they're like, "We have nobody by that name," and so I had to call him and I was like, "Yeah, what is like? Did you give me a stage name to come see you at the hospital?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, it's really. I'm not gonna give it away because he's got like a real job and shit. But it is what it is. But all right, Week 8 recap of the Browns since everybody watched that game. Chris, I'm assuming you watched the game. Okay,
Yes.
it's audio medium.
I forgot this is a podcast.
I mean, the video is gonna happen too, but like, whatever.
I was so thrown by like being on Zoom that I just totally forgot what this was.
It's all right. This is how we record it. It's because Zoom records it automatically, and this is
Yeah.
like the level of tech that we can do.
In our budget. Yeah.
It's definitely in our budget. The GOAT, the greatest of all time, best kicker in Browns history, Cody Parkey, finally
Whoa.
missed a field goal this week.
Yeah, a real field goal, not an extra point. Didn't get converted for 2 points this time, which is, sad, but it happens.
And it's a long-running bit on here that Cody Parkey, the only time he missed, well, except for last week when he missed one just to make
Right.
sure that the Bengals covered the spread. He wanted to make sure everybody lost money. He's the kicker from the replacements. That's what it was. And
Yeah.
but he had the only time that he had missed a kick is because they accepted the penalty on a blocked field or a blocked point after touchdown that they recovered in the end zone and got a 2-point kick. So he's the best kicker in Browns history, even though he was the worst before that. How do you feel about Cody Parkey, Chris Clem?
It's pretty mediocre.
Come on, son. This is going really well as technology is mixing.
Yeah, I know.
It is
Just
what it
waiting.
How you doing, Chris? Mediocre. 45 seconds later.
ruin all. To me, it was instantaneous. That's the problem.
The tin cans that we have attached with the strings are being a problem. We look like ass because it was like a bad. It was just like a tough game, bad weather. The Browns aren't made for it. Myles Garrett was hurt. They said everything was going to be good and he's going to be fine after the bye. But do you think like we're going to have to worry about him getting injured? Like he didn't get a sack, he didn't get any big plays or anything.
He was barely on the field, it felt like, though, is the issue. So I'm not going to down him for not putting up stats because he wasn't on the field. Was it a knee or was it an ankle? I couldn't remember.
They said it was a knee contusion.
But it was a knee.
Yeah.
That's kind of rough. But I mean, as long as nothing tore, they're not sending for MRIs. I'm not terribly worried.
I think they took a look at an MRI and everything was like fine. They did it just like precautionary because when you should have given him a percentage of the team, then you're gonna take care of him. Bad weather game. Yeah, you have the note in here. So like, it's a bad weather game. It's a dirty game. Our defense is not made for a ground and pound like dirty game like
No,
that,
our defense
especially when Garrett's
is
not there.
so bad. It's ridiculous. I mean, the only shining we have is Miles Garrett. I don't understand how they can't stop the run. I saw a screenshot of our defensive line 3 yards up from the line of scrimmage, and the running back hasn't hit a hole yet. Like, they're just getting destroyed off the ball. It's terrible. And Miles only played on passing downs, it seemed like. So I don't know. I have no hope on that. I hope it turns around. I hope it was just a bad game, but they did not look good.
Chris, what do you feel about our defense? How do you feel about Andrew Sandejo?
The same way every other fan does. He sucks. He's become a punchline this season.
Yeah, he runs around like his head's cut off. Like, he's showing up late to plays. He acts like he made a play when he didn't. Like, oh yeah, I had a hand in that, and no, you didn't. You didn't. Yeah.
Well, like he didn't look that bad this game. That's how bad the rest of the defense looked. It's like,
That's probably true. Yeah.
Like it's par for the course. Yeah.
I do think though, if we had Nick Chubb on for this game, it would have been a different game. I feel like up the middle running would have been a little bit more successful against the Raiders. And like we talked about last week, that's not Kareem's game. But
yeah, there's no running game. The running game doesn't exist, especially like last weekend or 2 weeks ago at this point. Like, that was kind of like, oh no, we might be not having a run game. And now it's like, oh, we don't have a run game without Nick Chubb. Like, the line looks worse without him. Baker looks worse without him because he's not playing the Bengals defense. Who the Bengals are going to be a problem because they beat the Titans. Like, who knows what the hell's going on with that? But I don't know. Trade deadline, you had a note in here. Who did you want at the trade deadline? Like, who did you think they were going to go for?
There are a couple guys on the Chargers. I forget their names. I should have done more research. But there were guys available. I wish they would have made a move. Given the opportunity we have with how good this team can be, to have weaknesses like that we have is pretty hard to swallow.
Yeah, the other thing, I mean, it would have been cool. I don't think we would have paid the price for it, but the alleged price for Stephon Gilmore was a first-round pick and a player of some sort. I feel like that would have been a good time to, if we're going to get rid of OBJ, that would have been a good time to offload him in a deal.
Yeah, I don't think Belichick would have bid on that at this point because he's not going to get him next year. You know, you don't know if he's going to play next season.
Yeah, that's true. Chris, Clem, how do you feel about Odell Beckham Jr. and everything around it?
I don't have a strong enough opinion either way. I think people who are denigrating his game are overly pessimistic, but I also think it's clear he hasn't really fitted like people thought. But also, last year I'm completely writing off, so I'm completely open. I don't know if they're getting any value for him anyway. So
yeah, last year doesn't count at all. That was a fake year for football. I mean, like, you take some guy off the fucking street corner and make him the head coach. But like, we talked about it a couple weeks ago. Like, it doesn't make sense how it's year two. They've had to have thrown each other a bunch of balls, but like, OBJ and Baker have never gotten on the same page, like, at all. And it makes no sense that like one of the best, and it doesn't make sense because he's one of the best wide receivers in the league, and he should be able to adjust to Baker, who isn't like the worst quarterback. I think OBJ played with worse quarterbacks. I think Baker's as good as Eli Manning. Like, he doesn't win a Super Bowl because he doesn't have the defense, but
this isn't a huge like compliment because I actually think Eli Manning was uniformly overrated at his best. But it's like, I think Baker's better than Eli Manning, which isn't saying a huge, like, before anybody that hates him is like, this guy's an idiot. It's like, well, Eli Manning was back in the day, what, like the definition of a system quarterback without even a system. It was just don't play bad enough that we lose with the defense.
And that's what I want Baker to do. I want him to not throw interceptions while we have our defense, who has a giant hole at safety, figures it out and kind of gets us there while they run the ball down the throat of everybody. Like that's the
Right.
best case scenario.
Yep.
But we need Nick Chubb. Anything else on
I
week
think
8?
if
Okay.
Chubb's healthy, Baker looks much better than the last game. Like you were saying, if Chubb was there, I think obviously the game goes completely different with that weather. But I mean, whatever. That's not saying anything.
Yeah, we're a big Nick Chubb podcast here. We think he's the best running back in the league because Derrick Henry doesn't count because he's not human.
Yeah, he's the best human running back in the league.
I'll be truthful. I download every single episode of your guys' show.
Oh, do you? Do you download and listen?
Oh, but I do download every episode. I've listened to a couple, but I'm kind of like I know this is a podcast. I'm on it now, but I'm like I'll still download people's podcasts, but I don't really listen to any of them anymore.
I'm still subscribed to the C4 podcast. So
yeah, well, just wait to get bubbled back up.
Bye week, anything other than like the quick COVID scare that the Browns had? They shut down and were doing the meetings over the thing. Nobody tested positive or anything, or I didn't see that they tested positive. They just had symptoms. So they were doing meetings over Zoom. Any other news that you want to cover on that?
No, just I think we're scheduled to have Nick Chubb come back next week, or not next week, but following the bye. So on to Houston,
I think that's a winnable game. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously we'll go over it next week, but I don't think Houston's scary. Let's hit our guest here. Let's focus on Chris Clem because him talking a lot is working very well. So let's just like completely focus on that. Let's start with Chris Clem. What is your favorite Browns memory as a child growing up?
Not
This is like when you were smoking cigars last
Bob
week.
Yeah.
had this
it's a good memory.
plastic.
Yeah. This is so typical because he only has memories from like 1990 on up. I'm sure. So
Yeah, it's your shit's all frozen. So it's like, so if you can hear us, I can't hear Chris. So like, all right, now you're working.
Yeah,
what was it, Chris?
I heard everything you guys said, and then I heard you say this is like smoking cigars last week, and it was silent, and I realized nothing saying is coming across. So I'll just sit wait for that.
Yeah, I mean it happens. Like it's Jimmy was smoking cigars outside of his house last week, so it would like he would just stop and then like somehow just blend right in like perfectly, but it didn't this time, and it's not really. So we're just powering through, and we're gonna pretend like this is working, and we're gonna post it anyways because content is king.
Start over or
What?
hold on. I'm going to move locations closer to my router. Maybe I'm the problem here.
it's that West Coast internet.
Yeah, that's why like the tin can with the string. This is gonna be some good editing that we're gonna have to do.
Oh, there's not gonna be any editing.
Yeah, just I mean, like for the video, leave it live. Like I don't care. Hey, who cares? Like I'm just gonna clean it up and throw it on there. It's not a big deal. I don't know. Election update still 264 to 214.
214. Yep. 9:06 Wednesday night, the 4th. Timestamp it.
But here's the thing: with the states that are left, Trump doesn't hit 270 anyways.
He has to win
wins Nevada.
He has to win Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, and Nevada or Arizona, one of those two. Whereas Biden only has to win Arizona and Nevada.
Wild times, dude.
Yep.
I posted it yesterday. This is the first election since 2008 that I haven't been drinking. Were you hanging out at the Delt house yet when Obama was elected?
Nope. I was still at Youngstown.
Wild times. You remember like Bill with long-haired Bill that was like kind of a weird rednecky dude? That was the guy that you were drinking tequila with.
I was gonna say, is that the guy that fed me tequila?
Yeah, that was a blue button-up.
Yeah.
He started punching holes in the wall. Like that's how pissed he was about it.
Because Obama won? That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, people were not happy about, like, they were either super happy or not happy about a black president, which is, it seems so weird.
In a frat house, so that makes sense.
That is also true. But okie dokie. Hey, Chris Clem, what was your favorite Browns memory?
Okay, so before I even remember watching football, I was 3 or 4, and I used to have this little plastic football, and every week during the games, when Bob Golick would be playing, he was my favorite player, and I'd wave this football around, and I guess I would like run along the TV and be like, "Football Bob, Football Bob," and it was like this charming story in my family about how much I loved watching the Browns and Bob Golick play. So this isn't really like the memory. The memory is a few years ago. It was the night before Thanksgiving at the Cleveland Improv, and crap, how do I not remember his name? Chuck Booms was the headliner, and it was a 2-person show. It was me and Chuck Booms. And apparently, in order to fill time, Bernie Kosar was supposed to come and be like the feature act, do a Q&A.
That's how you fill time, is one of the legendary Browns quarterbacks of all time.
Yes, this is what it was. Is Chuck wanted to do an hour and a half by himself, and they're like, "There's no way we're going to get somebody on the show." So it was like I was the host, but I was doing 20 minutes and then basically sat around the whole time because there was nobody else to bring on stage. And so Bernie doesn't show up because it's his birthday, and apparently he never said he was coming to the show. Chuck Booms just said he was. And Chuck is like calling every Browns player he knows because they sold tickets based on a Browns player being there. And they get Bob Golick to come up. And the show's horrible. It goes on for 2 hours. And anyways, though, we're all hanging out in the bar afterwards, and Bob Golick's there. And my sister was there, and she's like, "Oh, Bob Golick, he was your favorite player as a kid. You should tell him that story. I bet he think it's funny." And I was like, "Hey, Mr. Golick, I just wanted to tell you, when I was a kid, you were my favorite player." He's like, "Yeah, that's what everybody says." And he turns around and just disses me.
Yeah, I know what it's like to be dissed by one of the people that you respect and you care for. Because I remember when I was a little bit younger and I just wanted to show up to a basement comedy show and wear one of my new T-shirts that I bought for myself, and a younger Christopher Clem is on stage and just tore me apart for like 5 minutes, like out of nowhere, and that was before we knew each other.
I just thought it was hilarious that this guy, very new to comedy, was showing up at other shows with his merch. Like, what?
Wearing my own merch, and I still do it, and I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Is it going over better in
word.com?
Is it going over good in Wisconsin?
People in Wisconsin hate me, bro. Like, it's bad news. Like, it is. Well, Milwaukee doesn't like me. Appleton, where I'm at this weekend, Appleton Skyline Comedy Club. Come to it if you're in the Appleton area. 25% capacity. Be safe. Wear a mask.
Chris, I have a follow-up question to that Bob Golick story. Would that conversation have gone better if you would have said you were a big Saved by the Bell fan instead of he was your favorite player? Or what do you think?
He might have believed that. That's more believable that you really liked Saved by the Bell and that you remember Bob Golick from that than that he was your favorite player. Like, I don't think he's his parents' favorite player. So
right. Yeah.
That would be his brother. It's probably nicer to them.
Chris Clem, did you always live in Stowe when you were around Cleveland, or did you live in Cleveland proper for a minute?
That's where I was born. I moved out of there before I was like 5, though.
Oh, okay.
Wasn't my choice.
So just so people know, and I mean everybody who's going to listen to this either doesn't know Chris or has known Chris for years. But so your track is like that's like 100, and it's either going to be like people who listen to this just for you or Jimmy's family and his like in his wife's family.
Mom.
Like all of our downloads are from you, and then Jimmy's wife's 11 other siblings. That's her.
You have a big family. She's got a big family.
My wife is one of 11. Yeah.
Mormon?
One of 11. Yep.
No, I said Mormon.
Oh, no. Catholic.
Oh, okay. That's a lot, even for Catholic. Italian Catholic or?
Irish Catholic. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Well, we're not into stereotyping on this podcast, Chris Clem.
My family is very Catholic. My mom had 6 brothers and sisters, so I think
Yeah.
I can say that.
The wedding hashtag for Jimmy and Rose's wedding, which I was the best man and gave one of the most mediocre speeches of all time at. It was finally a dozen, which was very clever and very cute. So,
Yep.
shout out to them. But what? So you you moved from Northeast Ohio to outside of Chicago, right? That was the first.
No,
move.
I lived in Chicago.
Oh, in Chicago proper,
Yeah.
South Side, like Kanye.
No, it was North Side, Andersonville. The thing is I say the neighborhood I live in, and most people don't know where it is. So they're like, "Oh yeah, that was like in the suburbs," and it was like, no, it was right on the lake. Could walk to the lake every day if I wanted.
Okay,
I never did.
In Chicago, beautiful city when it's not completely shut down because the air's killing everybody. And then out to Los Angeles.
Which now I do live in the suburbs.
Oh, that's good. Hey, check you out. Do you rent that place you're in, or are you just that stacked?
Yeah, it's no, I got no stacks, man.
What do you?
I'm definitely not about to be complaining about the Biden tax plan, if that gives anybody an idea.
What do you miss about Northeast Ohio? Because it's one of those things where, like, I grew up in Northwest Ohio. Jimmy grew up kind of technically in Northeast Ohio, very close to the PA border. But like, it's
okay.
Now that we're like, now that I'm a few months removed from it, Jimmy's a couple of years removed from it. But like, it's a completely different place than I think anywhere else I've been. And I don't know if it's because people are closer to each other or if it's just like the wind brings everybody together. It just feels different. Like you're forced to like live a little differently. Is there anything that you miss about that area?
Oh yeah, there's all kinds of stuff I miss. There's more stuff I miss from Ohio, even though all the places I lived were not like as fun as where I lived in Chicago, but I miss more of it. But that's probably because that's like where all my family and friends are from, so it's biased anyways. But like, me and my wife were talking the other day. All these people complained about there's never anything to do in Ohio and stuff, and like with movie theaters and concerts and obviously comedy and stuff not happening out here. It's like, even without that, there's still tons of stuff to do out in Los Angeles, and we still do stuff all the time. And so it's like when people back home are like, "Oh, there's nothing to do," that's just it's just their mentality. And that I don't miss is people have like a loser mentality there, and it's really hard to shake. But I do miss the layout of the area, the demographic spread of just like the geography alone is great. Like I can get anywhere in an hour. It's awesome. Which is stupid, but it's not.
No, that's a way underrated thing. Is like, and I'm used to like, so I'll drive to the club that I'm doing this weekend. It's an hour and a half, like one way, and you're just like, oh, that's just like the next closest town that there's comedy, and like that's the same for like Chicago. But like it's like Wisconsin is such a big state that like it's from where I live now to the top of Wisconsin is 6 more hours north, and I'm an hour and a half into Wisconsin. And you're like, if I were to drive, like I could drive all over Ohio, like an hour in any direction. You're like you're somewhere, and that's kind of like the cool thing. It's like you just get used to like you can be in like farmland, you can be in like hills, you can be anywhere. Where here it's like the middle of nowhere is everywhere, and then you run into a city every 2 hours.
Yeah. The coolest thing is like people would be like, "Oh, Stowe's so far away," but I could leave my parents' house in Stowe or leave further away. I lived in Barberton for a minute. I didn't really enjoy that, but I could be. Yeah, it kind of is. It's actually a very like telling thing of the way the country is right now. Barberton, it's like somebody should do a cross-cultural examination of that city. You'd probably find out a lot about the state of America.
It's the Gary, Indiana of Ohio. Like that's what Barberton is.
That's a good way to put it. But I
You
could
haven't made a Gary
leave
diss
there.
in a while.
Yeah, fuck Gary, Indiana. All of you.
I could leave Barberton in 35 minutes. I could be downtown Cleveland like that. And I've did it many times. So that is definitely something underappreciated and a lot of opportunities to do stuff because like out here, you could get places to do. This was in Chicago. I have more experience out here. I'm just kind of assuming I haven't been here when anything's been open really, but you could get something set up, like run a show at all these different places because it was like its own industry and it's harder to get stuff going, but you can have much more freedom with it in Ohio because there's no like group of people preying on that, if that makes sense. There's no like level of stuff, at least in comedy, where there's like people preying on dumb improvisers or stand-ups, like run a show here, you pay us $100 and you can do whatever you want. It's like you could find a place that'll pay you to do stuff because they need something run there.
I do like how like Cleveland, the one thing like you just don't like, because that's just like where I've been my entire time, and then you go somewhere like I love how decentralized the area is like you can go to like if you don't like somebody you can go to another room. If you don't like that room you never have to go there, and there's other spots where like here the like there's a comedy club in Milwaukee that is run by the Milwaukee comedians, and like if I've learned anything, it's that comedians are a bunch of irrational assholes, no matter who you are. So they shouldn't be the like. I get that you don't want gatekeepers, but like you should probably have a gatekeeper instead of like comedians deciding who they think is funny, because otherwise you're gonna get like just some random hodgepodge of like just nonsense people, like alt comics all the time, and that just doesn't make money. And it's like you almost miss like, all right, I can bounce and do 7 different shows in a week or whatever, and like it's all different crowds, or like there's just like the comedian room, and maybe it's just COVID comedy as it is now anyways, where it's all comedians because people don't want to leave their house, and like so you're writing jokes for comedians, and then you're just like, all right, well, what's the point? Like I just got to the point of making real people laugh. Why do I need to make a bunch of shitheads laugh now?
Yeah. Well, that's a problem in like a lot of big cities in general, is that you get like the subculture so much bigger than it is in some places. And that with diminishing opportunities leads to stuff being a lot more insular. Yeah. Whatever.
Jimmy, what do you miss about Northeast Ohio? We haven't talked about our times there in a while. I mean, this is it's a bye week. We don't have football to talk about. Let's talk about each other.
Yeah. I miss the the layout. I miss being close to downtown Cleveland. I miss Kent. Just, the times we've had out there. I mean, it was a different time. I'll probably, I won't go back for quite a while just because I don't know anybody else out there anymore. But, yeah, I miss the layout, and I miss some of the people, but
I think it also might just be people, period. Like, I don't know if you know what I mean? Like, you just going somewhere and there being a bunch of people around and not kind of being afraid of it. So I don't know if it's like a COVID problem or it's like a neighborhood problem or if it's a moving problem, but like you could like you just almost, especially now that it's football season, like you can go to like a Browns backer bar, and like when we went to it the one game, and like nobody was talking to each other because you're like, well, I can't talk to strangers. Like you're not supposed to. You have to be at your own stupid little table, and then like, it just kind of takes the camaraderie out of it.
Yeah, that's probably a COVID problem, but you definitely think about like what used to be and how you like going to Mike's place and watching a game or something,
What is that? What was the Green Dragon? Was that like the drink at Mike's place? Do you remember what that
Dragon
was?
Slayer.
Dragon Slayer. Ugh.
It is green.
It is green.
There's a lot of sugar in it. My friend would get one of those all the time just to say he could, and it was just like, why? It's like $8 for bottom shelf liquor and sugar. Like, I get it.
It was almost like going to I was explaining the Loft to somebody and like getting like the bomb pop shot and then like
rocket
the Incredible
pop.
Hulk rocket pop.
The rocket pop.
And you're like, and it was like, I remember I still like my 25th birthday walking in there and like they scanned my ID and it said 25 and I was like, I've been coming to this bar for far too long. Just peanuts everywhere. And
at 25, there's guys in there that have been going there for 25 years alone. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Well, the best night me and Jimmy used to live at a spot on Longcoy behind where like the Sheets is now in Kent, like the one on your way to Streetsboro, and we were walking from downtown, and we were like, "Hey, we'll stop into God, what was it? What's the
Oh my
um
god.
fuck brew house?" We're like, "We'll stop into the brew
Oh
house."
man, so many memories there.
And like we walk in there and we're like drinking and like somebody like asked us about like fake IDs and like we just like got like a free beer and
That's
we're
the
like,
one with the popcorn, right?
yeah, with the popcorn
Yeah,
and like
okay.
the 18-year-old girl having her birthday party there with like
Yeah.
random Arab dudes dancing around her the whole time. And we're like, all right, like we were what, 24?
I've been on here for 5 years now, so yeah, probably 24, something like that.
Where
and-
you live at?
I'm in Toledo now, but
Oh, so far away.
yeah, I know.
Look, it's a life. It's a completely because I grew up in Perrysburg, right outside of Toledo, and it's like it's a completely different spot. Like 15 minutes there is an hour and a half drive.
It is. It's crazy. Yeah.
Like when I'll be back home, I'll be like, oh, I got this thing. Like I'm going over to Jimmy's house, which is maybe 20 minutes from my mom's.
Yeah.
Like maybe 20 minutes, and she'll be like, oh, that's like all right. I guess I'll see you in a week or two. Like
Yeah.
just small town stuff. All right, this is going to be our game for the week. We don't usually do games. I know you download and don't listen, but we don't usually do games.
I
But since
didn't say I've never listened. I said I usually don't. I
He's
used to
never
listen.
made it this far into an episode, is what he's saying. So.
No, I think the first 2 episodes I listened all the way through.
so like the worst ones before we got okay at this.
I used to listen to 40 plus hours of podcasts a week. At this point in time, maybe 3. And it's not even like I don't care anymore. It's just, I don't know. Like now all day I've had stupid YouTube news channels on all day and stuff. I don't know. It's just been different.
Yep.
What is your favorite thing about Donald Trump?
Me personally,
We're not going to talk about it.
Mine's
took
the
the-
hand gestures. I like
he
the
took-
hand. I like the accordion hands. That's just me.
he proves that you have to be at least slightly athletic to be even terrible at pro wrestling because he couldn't even take a stunner.
Ooh, favorite wrestler, Pat McAfee, right?
I don't watch WWE, so I'm sure he's great though.
He's on NXT. That's the
I
one
stopped-
that.
No, I stopped watching that after AEW started.
Do you watch Steve Guy's wrestling thing ever?
This is gonna sound bad if like somebody took this out of context, so I'm not gonna take it. But I've been buying their stuff on iPay-per-view to support them so they can help stay in business. But I love indie wrestling because there'll be like bigger, like more muscular dudes in the crowd than you'll see in the ring all night. Like there's 3 short fat guys fighting and there's this like jack dude in the front row like clapping.
So Chris Clem thinks that Steve Guy's a little doughy and needs to work on it. All right, that's
Yeah. This is gonna be like this Bill Baranke. I don't know if you know him. He used to have a podcast, and I used to always make fun of him on my old podcast. So this is like 10 years ago, probably, or 8 years ago. And I was talking about how he carries his Emmys with him everywhere. And one time he got locked out of his car, and because he had his Emmys in his hand, he left his keys, and so he had to smash all his windows with his local Emmys so he could get back into his car. And his co-host just took all these clips I said of him about him having local Emmys and trashing him and just playing them over and over until he made it sound like I was just ripping him apart for like 20 minutes, which wasn't true.
And Bill's the nicest guy in the entire world. He's the only person I've ever seen show up to Tote's place, which is Jerry Joffe's room, and like take it seriously.
He also, they did it on video, and so you could see him getting like actually hurt by these comments like on his face. It was great.
Dude, nicest guy in the entire world. He's like one of that group of guys like him and like Jesse Pimpinella who just like work that circuit from like Funny Stop to Buffalo, and like they'll never have any other shows, but like they'll be booked for 52 weeks between like Northeast Ohio and Buffalo, and God bless them, and they somehow make it work. So
Southern New Jersey as well. Well, at
Yep.
least with Bill.
All right, we got to get to this game. We're running long. We've got 3 categories, Chris Clem, of fuck, marry, kill. We're bringing it. I want to. I don't know why I thought of it. I was sitting at work and I was bored. All right, so we'll start pretty easily on fuck, marry, kill. Andrew Sandejo, 30-mile-per-hour winds, and knee injuries to your star defensive end. Fuck, marry, kill.
So it's knee injuries just to the defensive end. If it was knee injuries in general, I'd have to say kill knee injuries. But I'm going to say kill Andrew Sadeo, fuck knee injuries to defensive ends, and marry the wins because it's pretty hot right now.
All right, Jimmy, do you want to answer this, or do you just want to stick with Chris doing this?
I think I agree. I agree with that. That works for me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's I.
That was the route I was going to take. So that's fine.
I was gonna say I would say maybe fuck Andrew Sandejo because he's been fucking us all season. But other than that, that's a pretty good one. All right, fuck, marry, kill. The Haslams together, Art Modell and Ozzie Newsome.
Okay, that's not that hard. You kill Art Modell, fuck the Haslams, marry Ozzie Newsome.
Same.
See, and that's like after I wrote it, I was like, we got to do something with Art Modell, but like I don't know. I guess there's at least a lady involved in the Haslams.
You take a shower at a truck stop afterwards too.
That's used for money laundering.
Yeah. Get a lifetime pass at Love's.
But here, like, this is the craziest part about like our country and our favorite football team is, I mean, because Jimmy Haslam is a big Trump fan, so like we have an impeached president taking this down to the wire in America, and then one of his like good buddies owns an NFL team, should be in jail for a felony, but still runs some of like the most successful truck stops in like the country, and this is just where we're at, and we're like, you know what? Let's keep giving him money because we love football.
Yep.
You want to know something controversial? You know who else is friends with Trump is Dan Gilbert. You know who else has a big pocketbook when it comes to spending on their shitty sports team? Dan Gilbert. So I'm almost at the point of like wishing somebody would introduce the Dolans to Donald Trump.
I almost feel like the only reason. So I've had some theories about why COVID-19 happened. One, it was because I finally got nominated for a Cleveland Comedy Award. 2 was that Gwyneth Paltrow is going to sell a candle called The Vaccine, and it's just going to smell like mercury. But the other one that I'm going to say now is it's because Dan Gilbert built that gaudy ass stadium in downtown Cleveland when there was nothing wrong with the queue.
I can't argue with that.
It was like right after they debuted it, or pretty close, or halfway through the season, or whatever. I'm just saying there was no virus until the Romo Fijo Open.
I went to the game I went to 2 games in January when I was home, and then when I came back, I was reading stuff from Hong Kong from these people I knew saying about how there's this weird disease and it's going to come to America, and then like 2 months later, the world stopped.
Yeah, so that opened this season. Were they done with everything?
They finished in like December.
Okay, I was gonna say it was like the outside was still weird and boarded up. I just didn't know if it was
when I went with my dad after my flight got delayed, so I was in town for an extra night. And we bought tickets to the game because it was really cheap because it was bobblehead I wanted, I believe. And they finally had opened it up from like the week before when I went. The one part outside wasn't open, but it was finally finished. So they finished it for 100% sometime in December. The end of December.
Well, shout out to Rocket Mortgage. I
was going to say we were just there, but that was 2016, so never mind.
Yeah, that was like it feels like yesterday.
Yeah.
For the Stipe fight, who brought the title to Cleveland before the Cavs did. So
broke it.
Individual sports count, but they don't. Or else Ben Curtis did it in PGA like 5 years before that. So,
but he went is he from Cleveland or he's from Kent, right?
It's close enough.
It doesn't count. That's not a
no
Cleveland...
individual sports count for me whatsoever.
Like if the Miz ended up winning in WWE or whatever
he did before that, and we said it as a joke, but it was not true when he did that.
I don't know. Doesn't matter. Hey, we had world champion trampoliners. That was something that happened there.
What's his name? Scott Hamilton, the figure skater guy that had ball cancer.
He's from Bowling Green.
Yeah, he lived in Cleveland. Does he count?
No, because Bowling Green claims him. I grew up going to, my sister took ice skating lessons at Bowling Green State University, and they have like a banner for an ice skater down there. It's a very interesting town, Bowling Green.
If you go to a place like that, even if you move like 2 hours away, that's still close enough for them to like claim you forever.
100. I mean, and it's Bowling Green. Like nothing good has happened there ever since. They have the World Tractor Pull, or the national championship for the tractor pulls. They have it every year. So I hope that still keeps happening. This one's maybe just for me, but fuck, marry, kill for the last one unless we think of another one. Improv, Larry the Cable Guy, Jeff Dunham.
What was the first one?
Improv.
Okay. Am I answering this first?
Yeah, I mean, I know you love improv, so
I will kill Jeff Dunham. I'll fuck Larry the Cable Guy, and I will marry improv.
Ugh. Jimmy?
I have no opinion on this. This is not a question for me.
So this one is near and dear to my heart, because I'm going to marry Larry the Cable Guy, fuck Jeff Dunham, and kill improv. I just think it's boring. I also think that I want improv kids to be realistic. This is why I don't have a problem with Chris Clem as an improv person, is because we've had conversations in the past about it, and I think you kind of know that it's a little corny, and I think that's what, like, everybody needs to be like, it's corny. We have like the same 7 prompts, like that it's almost like a magician where they like kind of like move you into where they want you to do it and then have like the prompts for it. And everybody just needs to be like, yes, of course, like this, of course, is practice. Like we play the same 7 games where we know where we want to go with it, and they need to be realistic about it.
I've lost opportunities because I can't commit to keeping up the like everything is great facade with it.
Yeah, and it is weird, but also Jeff Dunham when I told my grandmother, shout out to my nana, when I told her I started doing comedy, she goes, you don't even have any puppets. She thought that comedy was only Jeff Dunham. So so he holds a very near and dear place to my heart, because that is the only comedy that she knew. Also, he played the Funny Farm before he was big. Did you know that?
I believe it. The Funny Farm. I mean, he was playing the Cleveland Improv like not that long ago, right before the year where he finally like made like an obscene amount of money, like $240 million in 1 year or whatever it was.
Yeah, I love Larry the Cable Guy as well. I've stopped hating him. The more money I try to make in comedy, the more I respect him just completely selling his entire life to be that rich and famous.
Oh, yeah. And that's great. He's committing to that character, too. And, you know, every comic who's like middle-aged who love to be like, Rodney didn't make it till he was almost 60. It's like, cool, you guys want to talk about that, but like Larry the Cable Guy making it in his 40s with this terrible hack character you guys make fun of, like, have it. You can't have it both ways.
And great jokes. Like, he's a good joke writer. Are they going to change the world? No. But also, the entire Nebraska football stadium isn't selling out for Bill Hicks. Like, it's not going to happen.
Because Bill Hicks is dead, so.
But shut the fuck up. I bet, like, if he came back from the dead, he would sell out Nebraska Stadium. If
you listen, this will piss people off, but if you listen to Bill Hicks now, there's lots of stuff he says that was like prescient and like, oh, wow, he sees where the world's going, but it's not funny.
He also like really bombed on that Sandy Hook joke too, didn't he? I mean,
the Alex Jones.
Thanks.
This is like that's hilarious. No,
I get
this is what I like surrounding myself with people who are way funnier than I am, just that I've never done. Like, it's just a brilliant joke. I don't know. I feel like we can end on Jimmy's like just obscure Bill Hicks's Alex Jones joke. We have no
That was
score
back
to
in the
pick.
days when there was like fun conspiracy theories still seem fun to me.
Most conspiracy theories are still fun. We've got group chats about it, about how QAnon's not even a conspiracy theory.
Well, that's true.
That's just like nonsense. But like I don't know. There's a whole podcast coming out where I have to talk about like I have a joke about how the moon's not real, and like David Horning's podcast, they were like, so what do you feel about fake news and like perpetuate? And I was like, dude, it's like this is just fun. Like that, all that stuff's fun. Like fake news is fun if you're an adult. Like you just have to
Mhm.
like be savvy with how the world is, and nothing's that serious. That being said, it's still 264 to 214. And other than Jimmy's Bill Hicks joke, the funniest thing I've seen on the internet the last 2 days is somebody put the the electoral college votes next to each other and put only 400 people voted. What the fuck?
I should add that the reason I will say I don't find conspiracy theories funny anymore is because I already saw too many of them today saying, how can there be more votes than people that voted in Wisconsin without understanding that you had same day registration and it was fixed like 5 minutes later? Like in that 5 minutes, the complex machinery of faking it just got caught up for a second.
100% craziest thing in my entire life, because Ohio doesn't have same day registration. And I like showed up to vote, and like the guy in front of me wasn't registered. And they're like, you can just go over there and register. Like you're a grown up, go register, and then you can vote. And I was
Yeah.
like, this is the like, of course, like, and I was like, there's a million things that Wisconsin doesn't have. Like they had cheap I voted stickers. Like I can't like go on there and be like, look, I voted, when it's like generic I voted stickers from the 90s. But like they have like same day voter registration. So I guess democracy is more important than me flexing on the gram.
This isn't even like a political thing, but it's crazy when you move to different areas. And since you guys have lived all over the place, I'm sure you can relate. You find out how much of people's lives is 100% shaped by the fact that they've never been anywhere except for like where they've been their whole life.
Mm-hmm. It's wild. It's like, especially like, and that was, I forgot to like the joke that I tell about Toledo all the time is that there's only 7 people in Toledo. There's just multiples of those 7 people. It's all this. It's like the same kind of person 100 times over, and you're just like, yo, like go somewhere. Like, and they'll be like, oh, how's Cleveland? It's the big city, and you're like, it's Cleveland, man. Like it's not. Like, yeah, cool. I've seen professional sports like in person that aren't the Mud Hens. Like, it's okay. We'll be okay. We'll make it.
Cleveland is only great in the context of thinking it's not great. And then you're like, wow, this is better than people think. But if you're thinking that's like where greatness lies, then you're lost already.
Like, I used to play rugby in like the suburbs of Detroit, and people would be afraid to go to the suburbs of Detroit. And it's like everywhere's 8 Mile, and like it's a war zone. You're like, no, guys, like it's all just white people who look like you and make more money. Like it's perfectly fine. You'll be okay. But all right, this has been going a long time. We don't have any. No, it's fine. We could do this for 8 years. It's like 11:30 East Coast time where Jimmy's at. So
that's right. It is
That late.
9:41.
It's hyperbole, guys. Like it don't. All things don't need to be true. We live in a post-truth world. There's no scores to predict, so we don't have to do that. Chris Clem, anything you want to say about the Cleveland Browns since you're on here?
They are going to go to the playoffs this year. I am not backing away from that prediction.
That's not a bad prediction. Jimmy, anything else that you have on it? Oh, yeah. Well, hold on. No, we'll let Chris go last. whoisrayroberts.com, at whoisrayroberts on everything. My stupid shirt campaign is still up for another 10 days. It reached the thing. If you want one, get it. If not, it doesn't matter. I'm only making 50 cents a shirt. Jimmy, Beers, Bourbon, Barbecue, anything else?
No, that's it. Stay tuned for our next guest next week, Chad Zumach. So
I could get him. Like we're not like boys, but like through Chris, we could get him.
No, he hates me now for some reason.
Well, shout out to Chad Zumach, who like I go back and forth on. One of the coolest dudes ever when he's not drinking, and one of the biggest assholes ever when he is drinking. So
As somebody who all the good times I've had with him, I totally are like, man, he's really actually fun and misunderstood. And that's him sober. And then all the times where I'm like, I never want to see this fucker again for the rest of my life. He's been drinking. And it's like, please stop for your,
he's
not
the
even
reason
for
I got into comedy. He like it's so weird to have Chad Zumach as like 17 people are gonna know who he is at some point, and I'm gonna be like, that's the reason why I do comedy. Is this failed guy from the radio who like still says he just fell asleep crashing a sponsor car, and it's like we all know who you are, bro.
He unfollowed me on every social media platform. And I was like, okay, I guess that means we're not friends anymore.
At least you didn't get blocked for calling wrestling fake from somebody you were friends with for years, but whatever.
That's true.
It happens. Chris Clem, anything that you need to promote?
Yeah, I have absolutely nothing going on for the foreseeable future. So
Don't you do that radio thing every once in a while?
Yeah, I got they're not paying, so I'm not really promoting it anymore.
Oh, I didn't know that was a paid thing. Congrats for that.
Yeah, it was. It was actually really good, easy money, and I knew that gravy train was ending at some point.
Was it like OnlyFans for comedians who aren't as good looking as other ones, or what's the deal with that?
What, like you were insulted, you weren't on it or something? Are you the platonic ideal of good looking?
No, I don't have an OnlyFans.
Only comedians with OnlyFans are women who I would use the term comedian like with quotation fingers.
Who have to hide it from their parents because their parents still pay their rent.
Yeah. Well, I think you're talking about somebody specific. I was talking about in general, but yeah, that's probably very, very accurate as well. But there was one person who was in a comedy scene where I know a lot of people, and they were like #1 comedian on OnlyFans, and I clicked on their page, and literally zero people that I know from her city were like following her. And I was like, okay, so this person's like did one open mic and like, I'm a comedian. Now I'm getting on OnlyFans and sell some titty pics.
Yeah, if it's the same person who's also in a city that I live close to now, that I know a few people on it, like it's always my favorite because I was around when they were coming up as well. It's probably not.
I know who that person is. I was talking about somebody else, but I know exactly who you are. And we should just cut the mic, I guess.
I've gotten so close to just like straight up saying, yo, fuck her. Like she sucks, but whatever. All right. There's nothing else. It's the bye week. We will hit stop recording. So none of us get called something for just pointing out the truth. All right. Go Browns.
Go Browns.
Football!